German Shepherd was barely alive. After being hit by a truck, Baby's reaction left everyone in tears. The screech of tires ripped through the silent night, followed by a thud that made the world stop. What happened next will shock you. If you're ready for a story that will touch your heart, keep listening and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. 5-year-old Noah pressed his small face against the cold window glass, his breath creating foggy circles that expanded and disappeared with each exhale. Outside, snow fell silently, covering the small town in a blanket of white. The peaceful scene outside was a stark contrast to what was happening inside the house. "I can't keep doing this, Mark," his mother's voice cracked from the kitchen. "You're never home, and when you are, you act like we're bothering you." "What do you want from me, Anna?" his father's deep voice boomed. "Someone has to pay the bills around here." Noah's tiny fingers traced patterns in the condensation on the window. He had gotten used to their fighting. It happened almost every night now. Sometimes he pretended he was somewhere else, somewhere quiet, somewhere warm, somewhere with people who didn't yell. The snow was falling harder now, big flakes illuminated by the yellow street lamps. Noah counted them as they fell, a game he had invented to drown out the angry words coming from the kitchen. 1, 2, 3, 27, 28. The headlights appeared suddenly, slicing through the darkness like two bright eyes. Noah watched as the truck sped down their street, moving way too fast for the icy conditions. His eyes widened as the vehicle swerved, tires spinning desperately for traction on the slippery road. The sound came next, a horrible screeching noise followed by a sickening thud. The truck fishtailed, nearly tipping over before the driver regained control and sped away, taillights disappearing into the night like glowing red eyes. Noah's heart pounded. His parents hadn't heard it. They were still arguing, their voices rising and falling like waves. Curiosity pulled at him. He looked back at the kitchen door, still closed, then at his snow boots by the front entrance. He shouldn't go outside. His mom had told him never to leave without asking. But something was out there. Something had happened, and no one else had seen it. Noah slipped his feet into his boots, not bothering with the laces. He grabbed his coat from the hook by the door, the one with the rocket ships his grandma had given him for his birthday. The front door made a soft click as he closed it behind him. The cold hit him immediately, biting at his cheeks and making his eyes water. His breath came out in white puffs that disappeared into the darkness. The snow crunched beneath his boots as he made his way down the front steps and toward the street. At first, he didn't see anything, just snow falling silently, covering everything in white. Then he noticed it, a dark shape on the road, not moving. Noah took a few more steps, his heart thumping loudly in his chest. It was a dog, a big dog with thick fur, mostly black with patches of brown. A German Shepherd, and it wasn't moving. Noah stopped a few feet away, suddenly scared. The dog was lying on its side, and there was something dark spreading beneath it on the white snow. Even at 5 years old, Noah knew what it was. Blood. Red and scary against the perfect white. "Hello?" Noah whispered, his voice small in the vast silence. "Are you okay?" The dog didn't move. Its eyes were closed. Noah took another step closer, then another, until he was standing right next to the injured animal. He could see now that its chest was still moving, but barely. Shallow, uneven breaths that made little clouds in the cold air. A car drove past, slowing down slightly as the driver noticed the scene. A small boy standing over a wounded dog in the snow, but then continued on. Another car passed without even slowing. Noah looked up at the houses around him. There were lights on in windows, people inside warm and safe, but no one was coming out to help. Noah knelt down in the snow, not feeling the cold wetness seeping through his pajama pants. He reached out one small hand, hesitating just above the dog's head. He had been taught to never touch strange dogs, but this one needed help. This one was hurt. Gently, so gently, Noah placed his hand on the dog's head. Its fur was thick and soft, but cold, too cold. He could feel the dog trembling beneath his touch. "It's okay," Noah whispered, though he wasn't sure if that was true. "I'm here now. I won't leave you." The dog's eyes remained closed, but as Noah's warm hand rested on its head, something happened. A sound, so quiet Noah almost missed it, escaped from the dog's throat. A whimper, small and weak, but there. It was alive. It was asking for help. Noah's heart fluttered in his chest. The dog was talking to him, in its own way, asking him to do something. But what could he do? He was just a little boy. He needed a grown-up. He needed his mom. "I'll be right back," Noah promised, giving the dog's head one last gentle pat. "Don't go anywhere. I'm going to get help." He stood up, his legs stiff from kneeling in the cold snow. The house seemed far away now, the warm yellow windows like distant stars. Noah ran as fast as his small legs would carry him, slipping twice on the icy sidewalk, but pushing himself back up without a second thought. The dog was dying. Noah didn't fully understand death, not really, but he knew it meant going away forever. Like his goldfish last summer, or his grandpa 2 years ago. They went away and never came back, no matter how much he cried or asked for them. He didn't want the dog to go away like that. Noah burst through the front door, not bothering to take off his snowy boots or coat. "Mom, Mom," he cried, his voice rising with urgency. "Mom, there's a dog outside. It's hurt really bad." His mother was on the phone now, her back turned to him as she paced the kitchen. "I know, Lisa. That's what I keep telling him, but he doesn't listen." "Mom!" Noah tugged at her sleeve, leaving wet snow marks on the fabric. "Mom, please. There's a dog that got hit by a truck. It's bleeding." Anna covered the phone with her hand and looked down at her son, irritation flashing across her face. "Noah, what are you doing outside? And you're tracking snow all over the floor." She gestured to the wet footprints leading from the door. "Go take your boots off right now, and then we'll talk about why you went outside without permission." "But Mom, the dog—" "Noah." Her voice had that tone, the one that meant no arguments. "Boots, now." Noah's eyes filled with tears. "But it's dying," he cried, his voice breaking. His father appeared in the doorway, his face dark with anger. "What's all this noise about? I'm trying to watch the game." Noah went outside without asking, and now he's making up stories about some dog, Anna said, already turning back to her phone conversation. "Lisa, sorry about that." "It's not a story," Noah shouted, frustration and fear making his voice rise. "There's a dog in the road. It got hit by a truck. It needs help." Mark sighed heavily. "Noah, there are stray dogs all over this town. It's probably just another one of those mutts from the old factory site. Nothing we can do about it." "But it's hurt," Noah insisted, tears now streaming freely down his face. "It's bleeding in the snow." "Nature takes care of itself, son," Mark said, already turning back toward the living room. "If it's that bad off, it'll be gone by morning. That's just how things work." "Mark," Anna hissed, covering the phone again. "Don't tell him that." She looked down at Noah, her expression softening slightly. "Honey, if there is a hurt animal, we'll call animal control in the morning. They know how to handle these things. Now, take off your wet things and get ready for bed. It's already past your bedtime." Noah stood in the middle of the kitchen, snow melt puddling around his boots, his little chest heaving with sobs. They didn't believe him. They weren't going to help. And by morning, the dog would be gone. Not just gone somewhere else, but gone forever. His mother had already returned to her phone call, and his father was back in the living room, the sound of the TV rising in volume. Noah looked at the front door, then back at his parents. They weren't going to help, but he could. Noah wiped his tears with his sleeve and quietly slipped back out the front door. The cold hit him again, but he barely noticed it now. His mind was focused on one thing: the dog lying alone in the snow. He ran back to the spot where he had left the injured animal. For a terrifying moment, he thought it was already gone. The snow had started to cover the dark shape, but then he saw the faint rise and fall of its side, still breathing, still fighting. Noah knelt down beside the dog again. "They won't help," he whispered, his voice catching. "But I will. I promise." The dog's injuries looked worse now that Noah was really looking. Its fur was matted with blood on one side, and one of its legs was bent at a strange angle. It was so big, much bigger than Noah, but somehow it looked small and fragile lying there in the snow. Noah placed his hand on the dog's head again, feeling the soft fur beneath his fingers. "Can you hear me?" he asked softly. "I'm going to help you. Somehow." As if in response, the dog's eyes fluttered open for just a moment. Deep brown eyes that looked straight into Noah's. Then they closed again, but not before Noah saw something in them. Recognition. Understanding. "Please don't leave me," Noah whispered, leaning closer to the dog's ear. please." The dog's chest rose and fell, each breath seeming more difficult than the last. Its body trembled beneath Noah's touch, whether from cold or pain or both, he couldn't tell. Noah looked around desperately for help, but the street remained empty. No cars passed by. No doors opened. It was just him and the dying dog in a world of falling snow. Noah made a decision then, one that seemed impossible but necessary. He couldn't leave the dog here to die alone in the cold. He had to move it somewhere safe, somewhere warm. Gently, Noah placed one small hand under the dog's head and another behind its front legs. "I'm going to pick you up now," he said, as if the dog could understand him. "It might hurt, but I have to get you out of the road." Noah tried to lift the dog, but quickly realized it was much too heavy for his small arms. The dog let out a pitiful whine at the movement, making Noah immediately let go. "I'm sorry," he whispered, new tears forming in his eyes. "I'm sorry I hurt you." He looked around again, desperate for another solution. His eyes landed on his own coat, the one with the rocket ships. Without hesitation, Noah took it off, shivering as the cold air bit through his thin pajama top. "I'm going to put this under you," he explained to the dog. "Then maybe I can pull you." With gentle movements, Noah managed to work his coat underneath part of the dog's body. It wasn't big enough to cover the whole animal, but it was something. Once the coat was in place, Noah grabbed the sleeves and began to pull. The dog was incredibly heavy, and at first, it didn't move at all. Noah pulled harder, his small muscles straining with the effort. Slowly, inch by inch, the dog began to slide across the snow. Each movement seemed to cause the animal pain, soft whimpers escaping with every tug, but Noah knew he had to keep going. "Just a little more," he encouraged, both to himself and to the dog. "We're going to make it." Noah pulled the dog toward his house, but then hesitated. He couldn't take it inside. His parents would just make him put it back out. But there was the old shed in the backyard. His dad never used it anymore, except to store the lawnmower. It wasn't warm, but it was shelter from the snow and wind. With renewed determination, Noah changed direction, pulling the injured animal toward the backyard gate. Every few feet he had to stop and catch his breath, his small body shaking with cold and exertion. But each time he looked at the dog's face, saw its shallow breathing, he found the strength to continue. It took what felt like hours to reach the shed. Noah's fingers were numb from cold, and his arms ached from pulling. The dog had gone frighteningly still, no longer making sounds of pain when moved. Noah was afraid it was already too late. The shed door was stuck, swollen from winter dampness. Noah pushed against it with all his might, finally forcing it open with a creak of rusty hinges. Inside, it was dark and musty, but dry. Old garden tools hung on one wall, and bags of fertilizer were stacked in a corner. Noah gave one final, desperate pull on his coat sleeves, dragging the dog over the threshold and into the shed. In the faint light coming through the dirty window, he could see the dog's chest still moving, still alive. But for how long? "You're safe now?" Noah whispered, kneeling beside the dog. "This is my dad's shed. No one will find you here except me." The dog's eyes remained closed, its breathing becoming more labored. Noah watched as each breath seemed to take more effort than the last. He placed his small hand on the dog's side, feeling its heartbeat, weak and irregular. "Please don't leave me," Noah begged, his voice breaking. "Please." As if in response to his plea, the dog's eyes slowly opened. Just a crack, just for a moment. Then they closed again, and the dog let out a long, shuddering breath. And then, nothing. Noah felt it immediately. The stillness. The dog's chest no longer rose and fell. The heartbeat beneath his fingers was gone. Panic seized him, squeezing his chest like a vice. "No!" he cried out, his voice echoing in the small shed. "No! Please! Wake up!" Noah placed both hands on the dog's chest, pushing down in a clumsy imitation of what he had seen doctors do on TV. "Wake up!" he sobbed. "You can't leave! You can't!" Tears streamed down his face, falling onto the dog's fur. One drop, then another, landing on the still form beneath his hands. Noah bent forward, pressing his forehead against the dog's neck, his small body shaking with sobs. "Please," he whispered one last time. "Please don't leave me." Perhaps it was the warmth of his tears, or the sound of his voice, or some miracle that can't be explained. But suddenly, beneath Noah's head, there was movement, the faintest rise of the chest, then another. Noah lifted his head, hardly daring to believe it. The dog's eyes remained closed, but its chest was moving again, barely, but moving. Somehow, it had come back. It was still fighting. "You're alive," Noah whispered in awe. "You stayed." The dog's eyelids fluttered, and for just a moment, those deep brown eyes opened again. They found Noah's, connecting in a way that transcended words. In that moment, Noah felt something he couldn't explain. A bond forming, a silent promise passing between them. Then the eyes closed once more, but this time the chest continued its shallow rise and fall. The dog was holding on, clinging to life with every ounce of strength it had left. Noah wiped his tears with the back of his hand, a new determination settling over him. The dog was fighting to stay alive, and he would fight just as hard to help it. "I'll be right back," he promised. "I'm going to get things to help you. Don't go anywhere." Noah slipped out of the shed, quietly closing the door behind him. The snow had stopped falling, and the night was silent except for the soft crunch of his boots. His house loomed ahead, warm yellow light spilling from the windows. His parents were still inside, still unaware that their son had gone back out into the night, unaware of the dying dog in their shed, unaware of the promise their 5-year-old had made, a promise he intended to keep at any cost. Noah's small feet carried him back toward the house, his mind racing with plans. The dog needed help, and if the grown-ups wouldn't provide it, then he would have to do it himself. Somehow. Noah crept back into the house as quietly as he could, his heart pounding against his ribs. The TV was still blaring in the living room, where his father sat, and his mother's voice drifted from the kitchen, still on her phone call. Neither of them had noticed he was gone. Noah headed straight for the bathroom, grabbing the first aid kit from under the sink. He didn't know much about medicine, but he knew Band-Aids helped when he got hurt. Maybe they would help the dog, too. He stuffed the small white box under his pajama top, the plastic edges digging into his skin. Next, he tiptoed to the kitchen. His mother had her back to him, laughing at something Lisa had said on the phone. Noah carefully opened the refrigerator, wincing at the soft light that spilled out. He grabbed a container of milk and stuffed it under his other arm. "I need something warm," he whispered to himself, looking around the kitchen desperately. His eyes landed on the stack of clean blankets his mother had folded on the dining room chair. Noah hesitated for just a second before grabbing the softest one, a blue fleece with stars that matched his pajamas. As he turned to leave, something else caught his eye. His teddy bear, Mr. Buttons, sitting on the couch in the living room. Noah had slept with Mr. Buttons every night since he was a baby. The bear was worn and faded, one button eye loose and dangling by a thread. But it was the most comforting thing Noah owned. Without thinking twice, Noah snuck into the living room, staying behind the couch where his father couldn't see him. He reached for Mr. Buttons, pulling the stuffed animal into his growing collection of supplies. "Noah? What are you doing?" his mother's voice called from the kitchen. "It's past your bedtime." "Just getting Mr. Buttons," Noah called back, his voice higher than usual. "Going to bed now?" Noah hurried to the front door, struggling to balance all his treasures. He managed to open it with his elbow, slipping outside before his mother could come check on him. The cold hit him like a wall, making him gasp. His coat was still under the dog in the shed, and now he only had his thin pajamas. "The dog needs it more than me," Noah told himself firmly, trudging through the snow toward the backyard. His feet were already numb in his snow-soaked boots, but he kept going. The shed door creaked as Noah pushed it open again. Inside, the dog lay just as he had left it, chest barely moving, eyes closed. Noah felt a surge of relief. It was still alive. "I brought you things," Noah whispered, setting down his supplies next to the dog. "I'm going to help you get better." Noah started with the blanket, carefully spreading it over the dog's still form. Its fur was damp from the snow and blood, but Noah tucked the blanket around it anyway, trying to warm the dog's trembling body. Next, he opened the first aid kit. Inside were bandages, antiseptic wipes, and little scissors. Noah pulled out the largest bandages he could find and began placing them carefully over the wounds he could see, just like his mother did when he scraped his knee. "This will make it better," Noah said confidently, though his small hands shook as he worked. The bandages seemed laughably small against the dog's massive injuries, but Noah kept going, covering every cut and scrape he could find. When he ran out of bandages, Noah opened the container of milk, pouring some into the plastic cap. He set it near the dog's mouth. "You need to drink," he urged, dipping his finger in the milk and touching it to the dog's nose. "This will make you strong." The dog didn't respond, its breathing still shallow and labored. Noah felt tears welling up again. He wasn't sure what else to do. He looked at Mr. Buttons, clutched tightly in his other hand. "Mr. Buttons always makes me feel better when I'm sad or scared," Noah explained to the dog. Gently, he tucked the worn teddy bear under the dog's paw. "He can stay with you tonight. He'll keep you company." Noah sat back on his heels, watching the dog breathe. It didn't seem to be getting better. If anything, it looked worse, its breaths coming less frequently, its body growing still beneath the blanket. "Please don't die," Noah whispered, his voice breaking. "I don't even know your name." The dog's ear twitched slightly at the sound of Noah's voice. Encouraged, Noah continued talking. "I always wanted a dog," he said softly. "Mom says we can't have one because Dad is allergic, but I think that's just an excuse. I don't think Dad likes animals very much." Noah scooted closer to the dog, careful not to disturb its injuries. "I think you need a name," he decided. "Everyone needs a name." He studied the dog in the dim light filtering through the dirty shed window. Its fur was mostly black, with patches of brown on its paws and face. In the darkness of the shed, it almost looked like a shadow. "I'll call you Shadow," Noah declared. "That's a good name for a dog, Shadow." As if responding to its new name, the dog's tail moved, just the slightest twitch, but movement nonetheless. Noah gasped, his eyes widening. "You heard me!" he exclaimed in a hushed voice. "You like your name?" For the first time since finding the injured animal, Noah felt a flicker of hope. Shadow had responded to him. Shadow wanted to live. Noah settled on the cold shed floor next to the dog, pressing his body against Shadow's side, careful to avoid the injuries. He could feel the dog's heartbeat, still weak but steady. The blanket covered them both now, a small island of warmth in the freezing shed. "I'll stay with you tonight," Noah promised. "I won't let you be alone." Outside, the snow had started falling again. Through the dirty window, Noah could see the white flakes dancing in the darkness. His parents would be angry when they found him missing from his bed. But that was a problem for tomorrow. Right now, all that mattered was Shadow. Noah's eyelids grew heavy as he lay beside the injured dog. The adrenaline that had kept him going was wearing off, leaving behind exhaustion that pulled at him like a heavy blanket. He tried to fight it, wanting to stay awake to watch over Shadow, but soon his eyes closed and his breathing deepened. As Noah drifted off to sleep, his small hand resting on Shadow's neck, he didn't see the dog's eyes open briefly. He didn't see Shadow turn its head slightly, looking at the sleeping child beside him. He didn't see the recognition in those deep brown eyes, or the way the dog's tail moved again. A deliberate motion this time. Noah slept, and Shadow watched over him, two lost souls finding each other in the darkness. Morning came with footsteps in the snow, and his mother's frantic voice calling his name. Noah awoke with a start, momentarily confused by his surroundings. The shed. Shadow. The events of the night before came rushing back. "Shadow?" Noah whispered, turning to the dog beside him. Shadow's eyes were open now, watching Noah with a steady gaze. The dog was still breathing, still alive. Noah felt a surge of joy so powerful it brought fresh tears to his eyes. "Noah!" His mother's voice was closer now, panic evident in her tone. "Noah, where are you?" Noah looked at Shadow, then at the shed door. He had to answer her, but he didn't want to reveal Shadow's hiding place. His father might make him put the dog back outside. "I'm here, Mom," Noah called, slipping out of the shed and closing the door behind him. "I'm in the backyard!" Anna appeared around the corner of the house, her face pale with worry. When she saw Noah standing in the snow in his pajamas, she ran to him, dropping to her knees and pulling him into a tight hug. "What are you doing out here?" she demanded, her voice shaking. "We've been looking everywhere for you. Your bed was empty this morning. Do you have any idea how scared we were?" Noah looked down at his feet, suddenly aware of how cold he was. Without his coat or the shared warmth of Shadow's body, he was freezing. His teeth chattered as he tried to explain. "I was helping the dog," he said simply. "What dog?" Anna pulled back, holding Noah at arm's length to look at his face. "Noah, what are you talking about?" "The dog that got hit by the truck," Noah insisted. "I told you about it last night, but you and Dad wouldn't help, so I did." Anna's face softened, a mixture of confusion and concern in her eyes. "Honey, there was no dog. You must have had a dream." "It wasn't a dream!" Noah stamped his foot in frustration. "Shadow is real. He's in the shed right now." "Shadow?" Anna repeated. "That's his name," Noah explained. "I gave it to him because he's dark like a shadow. He was dying, Mom, but I helped him. He's still hurt really bad, though." Anna sighed, standing up and taking Noah's hand. "Okay, let's go see this dog of yours. Then we need to get you inside before you catch pneumonia." Noah led his mother to the shed, hope and fear battling in his chest. Would Shadow still be alive? Would his mom believe him now? Noah pushed open the shed door, gesturing for his mother to look inside. Anna peered into the dim interior, her eyes taking a moment to adjust to the darkness. Noah heard her sharp intake of breath when she saw what lay on the floor. Shadow was still there, still wrapped in the blue blanket with Mr. Buttons tucked beside him. The dog's eyes were open now, watching them warily. The bandages Noah had carefully applied were soaked through with blood, and the milk remained untouched. "Oh my God," Anna whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. "There really is a dog." "I told you," Noah said, a hint of accusation in his voice. "I told you he was hurt, but you and Dad wouldn't listen." Anna knelt down slowly, keeping a safe distance from the injured animal. "Noah, this dog is seriously hurt. It needs a vet, not Band-Aids." "I know," Noah admitted, "but I didn't know what else to do. You said we couldn't help." Guilt flashed across Anna's face. She reached out to touch Noah's cheek. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you, sweetheart. I should have listened." Noah leaned into her touch, relief flooding through him. "Can we take Shadow to the doctor now?" "The animal doctor?" Anna hesitated, looking at the wounded German shepherd. "Veterinary care is expensive, Noah. And this isn't even our dog. It's probably a stray." "He's my dog now," Noah said firmly. "I saved him. Please, Mom, please help Shadow." Before Anna could respond, the shed door opened wider. Mark stood there, his imposing figure blocking the light. "So, this is where everyone is," he said, his voice tight with annoyance. "What's going on?" Anna stood up quickly. "Mark, Noah found an injured dog last night. He was telling the truth." Mark stepped into the shed, his eyes narrowing as he spotted Shadow on the floor. "That's what all this fuss is about? Some mangy stray?" "He's not mangy," Noah protested. "He's Shadow, and he's my dog now. He got hit by a truck, and I saved him." Mark shook his head, looking from the dog to his wife. "Anna, you can't seriously be considering keeping this animal. Look at it. It's half dead already." "No, he's not," Noah cried, stepping between his father and Shadow. "He's going to get better. I'm going to take care of him." "Noah," Mark's voice had that warning tone, the one that meant the discussion was over. "This dog needs to be put down. It's suffering. The kindest thing would be to end its misery." Noah felt like his heart might explode with fear and anger. "No!" he shouted, tears streaming down his face. "You can't kill him. I won't let you." "Mark, please," Anna said quietly, placing a hand on her husband's arm. "Let's at least take it to the vet, for Noah's sake." Mark pulled away from her touch, his jaw tight. "We don't have money to waste on some stray dog that's going to die anyway. I'm calling animal control. They'll deal with it." "No!" Noah screamed, throwing himself down beside Shadow. The dog lifted its head slightly at Noah's distress, a low whine escaping its throat. "Shadow is staying with me? He trusts me?" Mark reached for Noah, intending to pull him away from the animal. "Noah, get away from that dog. It could be dangerous." Before Mark could grab him, something unexpected happened. Shadow, weak as he was, managed to raise his head further and place it protectively over Noah's lap. The dog's eyes, though filled with pain, stared directly at Mark, not threatening, but pleading. The gesture was so human, so deliberate, that it stopped Mark in his tracks. He looked at the dog, then at his son, whose small arms were now wrapped around Shadow's neck. "Please, Dad," Noah whispered, his voice raw with emotion. "Please help him." For a long moment, no one spoke. The only sound in the shed was Shadow's labored breathing and Noah's quiet sobs. Then, almost imperceptibly, Mark's expression changed. Something shifted in his eyes. a softening, a recognition. "Fine," he said finally, his voice gruff. "We'll take it to the vet, but I'm not promising anything, Noah. This dog might be too far gone." Noah's face lit up with hope. "He's not too far gone," he insisted. "Shadow is strong. He came back last night when I thought he was dead. He'll come back again." Mark didn't argue. Instead, he bent down and carefully scooped up the injured dog, blanket and all. Shadow was heavier than he expected, dead weight in his arms. The dog whimpered in pain, but didn't struggle. "Noah, get the car door," Mark instructed, his voice gentler now. Noah ran ahead, opening the back door of their SUV. Mark laid Shadow across the back seat, trying to position him as comfortably as possible. "I'm riding with Shadow," Noah declared, climbing in beside the dog before either parent could object. He placed his small hand on Shadow's head, stroking the soft fur between his ears. "It's okay," he whispered. "We're going to the animal doctor now. They'll make you all better." Anna and Mark exchanged a look over the top of the car, concern, doubt, and something else passing between them. Then they got in, Mark starting the engine as Anna looked up the nearest emergency veterinary clinic on her phone. The drive was tense and mostly silent. Noah kept up a steady stream of quiet reassurances to Shadow, promising him treats and walks, and a warm bed once he was better. The dog's eyes were closed again, but his tail moved slightly whenever Noah spoke, as if he understood. Mark drove faster than usual, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. Twice he ran yellow lights, something he never did. Anna didn't comment on his driving. Her eyes were fixed on her phone, researching what to expect at the vet. When they pulled into the parking lot of Lakeside Emergency Veterinary Clinic, Mark didn't hesitate. He got out and gently lifted Shadow from the back seat, cradling the large dog in his arms. Noah stayed close, one hand always touching Shadow as they hurried inside. The receptionist looked up in alarm as they entered. "Oh my," she said, immediately getting to her feet. "What happened?" "Hit by a truck," Mark explained tersely. "Last night, my son found him." The receptionist pressed a button on her desk, and moments later, 2 veterinary technicians appeared with a gurney. Mark carefully placed Shadow on it, the dog's limbs hanging limply over the edges. "I want to go with him," Noah insisted, as the techs began to wheel Shadow away. "I'm sorry, sweetie," one of the techs said kindly. "You'll have to wait out here with your parents. The doctor needs space to work." "But he'll be scared without me," Noah protested. "He doesn't know you." Anna knelt down beside Noah, turning him to face her. "Shadow needs help that only the doctors can give him," she explained gently. "The best thing you can do for him right now is let them work." Noah's lower lip trembled, but he nodded bravely. "Tell Shadow I'm waiting for him," he instructed the tech. "Tell him not to be afraid." The tech smiled, her eyes soft with understanding. "I will," she promised. Then they wheeled Shadow through a set of swinging doors, and he was gone. The waiting room felt cold and sterile. Noah sat between his parents, his small legs dangling from the chair. Every few minutes he would look at the swinging doors, hoping to see someone come out with news about Shadow. "How much is this going to cost?" Mark muttered to Anna, his voice low enough that he thought Noah couldn't hear. "I don't know," Anna replied equally quietly. "Emergency vet care isn't cheap, especially for trauma cases. We can barely make the mortgage this month as it is," Mark reminded her. "I know that," Anna snapped, then immediately softened her tone. "But what were we supposed to do? Leave the dog to die in our shed while our son watched?" Mark didn't answer, but his jaw tightened. Noah pretended not to hear, keeping his eyes fixed on those swinging doors. An hour passed, then another. Noah's eyelids grew heavy. He hadn't slept much the night before, but he fought to stay awake. He wouldn't sleep until he knew Shadow was okay. Finally, a tall woman in a white coat emerged from the swinging doors. "Family of the German Shepherd," she called. Mark, Anna, and Noah all stood up. The vet approached them, her expression serious. "I'm Dr. Reynolds," she introduced herself. "I've been treating your dog." "He's my dog," Noah corrected her. "His name is Shadow. Is he going to be okay?" Dr. Reynolds looked down at Noah, her expression softening. "Shadow is very badly injured," she explained gently. "He has 3 broken ribs, a fractured leg, internal bleeding, and a concussion. He's lost a lot of blood." Noah's heart seemed to stop in his chest. "But you can fix him, right? That's your job." Dr. Reynolds knelt down to Noah's level. "We're doing everything we can," she assured him. "Shadow is in surgery right now. Dr. Martinez is our best surgeon, and he's working very hard to help your dog. Will Shadow die? Noah asked directly, his voice small but steady. Dr. Reynolds hesitated, glancing up at Mark and Anna. I won't lie to you, she said finally, looking back at Noah. Shadow is in critical condition. The next 24 hours will be crucial. If he makes it through the night, his chances improve significantly. Noah nodded solemnly, taking in this information. Shadow will make it, he said with absolute certainty. He came back last night when I thought he was gone. He'll come back again. Dr. Reynolds smiled sadly. You must be very special to him. Sometimes animals hang on for the people they love. We just found him last night, Anna explained. He's not actually our dog. I see, Dr. Reynolds said, standing up. Well, whoever he belonged to before, it seems like he's found a new family now. We haven't decided if we're keeping the dog, Mark interjected quickly, assuming it survives. He'll survive, Noah stated firmly, and his name is Shadow, not the dog. Dr. Reynolds looked between the three of them, sensing the tension. Why don't you all go home and get some rest? We'll call you if there's any change in Shadow's condition. The surgery will take several more hours, and then he'll need to be monitored overnight. I want to stay, Noah insisted. Shadow needs me? Honey, there's nothing you can do here, Anna said gently. Shadow is with the doctors now. They'll take good care of him. But what if he wakes up and I'm not here? Noah asked, his voice breaking. What if he thinks I left him? Dr. Reynolds reached into her pocket and pulled out a small plastic bag. Here, she said, handing it to Noah. This is the bandage we took off Shadow's paw, the one with the teddy bear. Why don't you take the bear home, wash it, and bring it back tomorrow? That way, Shadow will have something that smells like you. Noah took the bag, carefully extracting Mr. Buttons. The teddy bear was stained with blood and dirt, looking even more worn than before. Thank you, he whispered. We'll come back first thing tomorrow morning, Anna promised. Right, Mark? Mark nodded reluctantly. Right, first thing. Noah allowed himself to be led out to the car, clutching Mr. Buttons to his chest. As they drove away from the clinic, he pressed his face against the window, watching the building until it disappeared from view. Shadow will be okay, he whispered to himself. He has to be. But even as he said the words, Noah couldn't shake the memory of Dr. Reynolds' face, the doubt in her eyes when she talked about Shadow's chances. Adults thought they could hide things from kids, but Noah knew better. Shadow might not make it through the night. And if he didn't, what then? Noah felt a hollow space opening inside his chest, a void he'd never experienced before. Shadow had only been in his life for less than a day, but somehow, the thought of losing him was unbearable. Noah's small fingers tightened around Mr. Buttons, and he made a silent promise. When Shadow came home, Noah would never let anything bad happen to him again. Never. Have you ever made a promise to an animal? Tell us about a time when you formed an unexpected bond with a pet or wild animal. Noah barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Shadow lying in the snow, blood staining the perfect white blanket. He kept his small hands wrapped around Mr. Buttons, who smelled faintly of antiseptic from the vet clinic. Noah had carefully washed the teddy bear, but refused to use soap. He wanted it to still smell a little bit like Shadow when he brought it back to the clinic. Morning couldn't come fast enough. Noah was dressed and waiting by the front door before his parents had even gotten out of bed. When his mother finally emerged from the bedroom, her eyes puffy from lack of sleep, Noah was practically bouncing with impatience. Can we go now? Can we go see Shadow? He asked, rushing to her side. You promised we'd go first thing in the morning. It's morning now. Anna yawned, reaching for the coffee pot. Let me have my coffee first, sweetheart, and we need to wait for your father. But Shadow is waiting for us, Noah insisted. He might be scared. He doesn't know anyone there. Anna sighed, pouring herself a cup of coffee. Noah, I need you to prepare yourself, she said gently. Remember what Dr. Reynolds said. Shadow was very badly hurt. He might not have... He's alive, Noah interrupted, his voice firm with conviction. I can feel it. He's waiting for us. Anna didn't argue. How could she explain the concept of preparing for the worst to a 5-year-old who had already formed such a strong bond with the injured animal? Instead, she simply nodded and sipped her coffee, watching as Noah returned to his post by the front door. An hour later, the family was finally in the car. Noah sat in the back seat with Mr. Buttons, occasionally leaning forward to urge his father to drive faster. Mark said nothing, his face a mask of forced patience. Anna kept glancing back at Noah, worry etched in the lines around her eyes. When they pulled into the clinic parking lot, Noah unbuckled his seatbelt before the car had fully stopped. "Noah, wait!" Anna called, but he was already out the door, running toward the entrance with Mr. Buttons clutched tightly in his small hand. The same receptionist from yesterday greeted them as they entered. Her expression gave nothing away, as she recognized the family. "You're here for the German Shepherd, right?" she asked. "Shadow," Noah corrected her. "His name is Shadow. Is he okay? Can I see him?" The receptionist smiled gently. "Let me get Dr. Reynolds for you," she said, reaching for the phone on her desk. Noah stood impatiently at the counter, too anxious to sit down. His parents exchanged nervous glances behind him. The wait for Dr. Reynolds felt like an eternity, though it was only a few minutes. When the swinging doors finally opened, Dr. Reynolds emerged, her face tired but bearing a small smile. Noah's heart leapt at the sight of that smile. "He's alive?" Noah asked immediately, hope making his voice rise. Dr. Reynolds nodded. "Shadow made it through the night," she confirmed. "He's stable, but still in critical condition. He's a fighter, your dog. The surgery went well, but he's got a long road to recovery ahead." Noah felt tears of relief flood his eyes. "Can I see him?" "I brought Mr. Buttons back for him." Dr. Reynolds hesitated, looking at Mark and Anna. "Usually we don't allow children in the recovery area, but in this case..." She looked down at Noah's pleading face. "I think it might actually help Shadow to see you. He seemed very bonded to you already." Noah beamed, turning to his parents triumphantly. "See? I told you he'd be okay." "We need to discuss something first," Dr. Reynolds said, her tone becoming more serious as she addressed Mark and Anna. "Shadow's treatments, the surgery, medications, and ongoing care are quite costly. We need to know if you're planning to take financial responsibility for him." Mark shifted uncomfortably. "Look, we're not exactly in a position to take on major veterinary bills for a stray dog. Isn't there some kind of animal rescue that could cover this?" "Dad," Noah protested, his voice rising with indignation. "Shadow isn't a stray anymore. He's my dog now." "Noah, it's not that simple," Mark began, but Anna placed a hand on his arm, silencing him. "How much are we talking about?" she asked Dr. Reynolds quietly. The veterinarian named a figure that made Mark's face pale. "That's more than our mortgage payment," he muttered. "Perhaps we could work out a payment plan," Dr. Reynolds suggested, seeing their reaction. "Or there are some charitable foundations we could apply to for assistance." Noah wasn't fully following the adult conversation, but he understood enough to know that money was getting in the way of Shadow coming home with them. He tugged at his father's sleeve. "Please, Dad," he whispered. "I'll do anything. I'll do all my chores without complaining. I won't ask for any birthday presents or Christmas presents. Please don't make Shadow go away." The naked emotion in his son's plea hit Mark harder than he expected. He looked down at Noah's tear-filled eyes, then at his wife. Anna gave a slight nod, her own eyes suspiciously bright. "We'll figure something out," Mark finally said. "For now, let's just go see the dog." "Shadow," Noah corrected automatically, but he was smiling now, relief washing over his small face. Dr. Reynolds led them through the swinging doors and down a hallway lined with examination rooms. The recovery area was at the back of the clinic, a quiet space with several cages of various sizes. Most were empty, but in the largest one at the end lay a familiar dark shape. "Shadow!" Noah cried, running ahead of the adults. He stopped just short of the cage, suddenly uncertain. Shadow looked so different from the night before. Tubes and wires connected him to monitoring equipment, and most of his body was wrapped in bandages. His right leg was in a cast, and a cone surrounded his head to prevent him from disturbing his stitches. "Be gentle," Dr. Reynolds cautioned, coming up behind Noah. "He's heavily medicated for pain, so he might not be very responsive." But as Noah approached the cage, Shadow's eyes opened. Those deep brown eyes found Noah's, and even through the haze of medication, there was recognition there. The dog's tail thumped weakly against the padded floor of the cage. "He knows me," Noah whispered in awe. "He remembers." Dr. Reynolds opened the cage door, allowing Noah to kneel beside Shadow. "Just be careful of the IV lines," she warned gently. Noah reached out and placed his small hand on the small patch of fur visible between bandages on Shadow's neck. "I brought Mr. Buttons back," he said, showing the teddy bear to the dog. "He kept me company last night, but I think he missed you too." Shadow's eyes remained fixed on Noah's face. The dog made no attempt to move. He was clearly too weak, but his tail continued its gentle thumping against the floor. "I told you he'd remember you," Dr. Reynolds said, smiling at the obvious connection between boy and dog. Animals are very good at recognizing those who help them. Mark and Anna stood back, watching the interaction with mixed emotions. Anna wiped a tear from her cheek, moved by the scene before her. Even Mark's stern expression had softened as he observed his son gently stroking the injured dog. "When can he come home with us?" Noah asked, not looking up from Shadow. Dr. Reynolds exchanged a glance with Mark and Anna before answering. "Shadow will need to stay here for at least a week, possibly longer. His injuries are extensive, and he needs round-the-clock care right now." Noah nodded solemnly. "But after that, he can come home with us, right?" He looked up at his parents, his eyes full of hope and determination. Before either parent could answer, Dr. Reynolds knelt beside Noah. "There's something interesting I discovered when I was examining Shadow," she said. "He has a microchip." "A what?" Noah asked, confused. "A microchip is a tiny device that's implanted under a dog's skin," Dr. Reynolds explained. "It contains information about the dog and its owner. Most lost dogs have them, so they can be returned if they're found." Noah's face fell as he realized what this meant. "So, Shadow belongs to someone else?" Dr. Reynolds nodded. "Potentially. I've sent the chip number to the registry, and we're waiting to hear back. If the information is current, we might be able to find Shadow's original family." Noah's lower lip trembled as he looked back at Shadow. "But I found him," he whispered. "I saved him. He's my dog now." Anna came forward, placing a comforting hand on Noah's shoulder. "Honey, if Shadow has a family who's missing him, they must be very worried. Wouldn't you want someone to return him to us if he were our dog who got lost?" Noah knew his mother was right, but the thought of losing Shadow to some unknown family made his chest ache. He looked down at the dog, whose eyes were starting to close as the medication pulled him back towards sleep. "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it," Mark said, surprising everyone with his gentle tone. "For now, let's just focus on getting Shadow healthy again." Noah placed Mr. Buttons carefully next to Shadow's front paw. "He can stay here with you," he told the drowsy dog, "so you won't be alone." As they prepared to leave, Dr. Reynolds pulled Mark and Anna aside. "There's something else you should know," she said quietly, making sure Noah couldn't hear. "The microchip is quite old, at least 5 years, and the contact information might not be current. Also," she hesitated, "Shadow's injuries are consistent with more than just being hit by a vehicle. There are older scars beneath his fur, signs of a previous trauma. Whoever owned him before might not have treated him well." Anna gasped softly. "You mean he was abused?" Dr. Reynolds nodded grimly. "It's possible. I can't say for certain, but some of these older injuries, they're concerning." Mark's expression darkened. "So, even if we do find the previous owners, we might not want to return him," Anna finished, looking over at Noah, who was saying a tearful goodbye to Shadow. "That would be a matter for animal control to investigate," Dr. Reynolds said carefully. "But yes, if there's evidence of abuse, Shadow would not be returned to that environment." The drive home was quiet, Noah lost in his thoughts as he stared out the window. The possibility of finding Shadow's original family weighed heavily on him. Part of him hoped they would never be found, even though he knew that was selfish. "Can we go back tomorrow?" Noah asked as they pulled into their driveway. "We'll see," Anna replied. "Shadow needs rest, and so do you." Noah didn't argue, but his mind was already made up. He would go back every day until Shadow could come home, whether that was to Noah's home or someone else's. That evening, as Noah was helping his mother clear the dinner dishes, the phone rang. Mark answered it, his expression turning serious as he listened to the person on the other end. "I see," he said. "Yes, we understand. Thank you for letting us know." He hung up and turned to Anna and Noah, who were watching him expectantly. "That was Dr. Reynolds," Mark explained. "They found a match for Shadow's microchip in the registry." Noah's heart sank. "They found his owners?" Mark nodded slowly. "They found a name and address, but the contact information is outdated. The phone number is disconnected. They're trying to track down the current information. A small flicker of hope rekindled in Noah's chest. Maybe they wouldn't find Shadow's old family after all. "There's something else," Mark continued, his voice careful. "The name on the microchip registration. The dog's name isn't Shadow." "What is it?" Noah asked. "Max," Mark replied. "His registered name is Max." Anna gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Mark and Noah both turned to look at her, confused by her reaction. "Anna?" Mark asked. "What is it?" Anna's face had gone pale. "Max," she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. "It can't be—" "Mom?" Noah was alarmed by his mother's reaction. "What's wrong? Do you know someone named Max?" Anna seemed unable to speak for a moment, her eyes distant as if she were seeing something no one else could see. Finally, she looked at Noah, her expression a mixture of shock and disbelief. "Noah," she said slowly, "we used to have a dog named Max, a German shepherd. He disappeared just before your first birthday." Noah's eyes widened. "We had a dog? You never told me that." Anna shot Mark a look that Noah couldn't interpret. There was anger there, and accusation. Mark looked away, unable to meet her gaze. "What happened to him?" Noah demanded. "Where did he go?" Anna's voice was tight with controlled emotion. "We were told he ran away during a storm. We searched for weeks, but we never found him." The way she emphasized "we were told" made Noah look at his father, whose face had hardened into a defensive mask. "It was a long time ago," Mark said dismissively, "and it's probably not even the same dog. German shepherds are common, and Max is a common name for dogs." "But what if it is the same dog?" Noah asked, excitement building in his voice. "What if Shadow is really Max, and he's been trying to come home to us all this time?" "That's ridiculous," Mark snapped, more harshly than he'd intended. "It's been over 4 years. A dog wouldn't remember after all that time." "I want to check," Anna said firmly. "I want to see if there's any way to confirm if this is our Max." "How would we even do that?" Mark asked, exasperation clear in his voice. "Photos," Anna replied. "I have photos of Max in the albums in the attic. We can compare them to Shadow." Mark threw up his hands. "This is absurd. You're getting Noah's hopes up for nothing." But Anna was already heading for the attic stairs, Noah close behind her. Mark sighed heavily before following them. The attic was dusty and dim, illuminated only by a single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling. Anna went straight for a stack of boxes in the corner, pulling out one labeled Noah Baby. "The photos should be in here," she explained, opening the box. "I put them away after Max disappeared. It was too painful to look at them." Noah watched as his mother sifted through the box, finally pulling out a photo album with a blue cover. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened it. "Here," she said, pointing to a photograph on the first page. "This is Max." Noah leaned in, studying the photo eagerly. It showed a handsome German shepherd, sitting proudly on their front porch. The dog's fur was glossy and well-groomed, his ears perked up attentively. There was a distinctive white patch on his chest, shaped almost like a star. "Shadow has a white patch just like that," Noah exclaimed. "I saw it when I was putting the blanket over him in the shed." Anna turned the page, revealing more photos. There was one of a much younger version of herself, heavily pregnant, with Max sitting beside her, his head resting protectively against her belly. Another showed a tiny baby, Noah, sleeping in a crib with Max lying on the floor beside it, alert and watchful. "He was so protective of you," Anna said softly, her finger tracing the outline of the dog in the photo. "From the moment we brought you home from the hospital, Max appointed himself your guardian. He would sleep outside your room every night." Noah's eyes were wide with wonder. "Why don't I remember him?" "You were too young," Anna explained. "Just learning to crawl when he disappeared." Mark stood silently in the doorway, his expression unreadable as he watched his wife and son pore over the old photographs. "What about this?" Noah asked, pointing to a small detail in one of the photos. Max was wearing a collar with a tag dangling from it. "Does Max, have a tag like that?" Anna frowned, trying to remember. "I'm not sure. He was wearing a collar when he disappeared, with tags that had our address and phone number. But that was years ago." "I didn't see any tags on Shadow when I found him," Noah said. "But his fur is really thick. Maybe they're hidden underneath?" Anna closed the album, determination replacing the shock on her face. "Tomorrow we'll go back to the clinic. We'll ask Dr. Reynolds to check for tags, and we'll bring these photos to compare. Anna, Mark's voice came from the doorway, a warning tone to it. Don't do this. Don't get your hopes up. Or Noah's. The chances that this is the same dog are practically zero. Anna stood up, fixing her husband with a hard stare. The timing fits, Mark. Max disappeared just over 4 years ago. The microchip is registered to a dog named Max. He's the right breed, the right age, and he has the same markings. Why are you so determined to deny the possibility? Mark's jaw tightened. Because it's impossible. Dogs don't survive on their own for 4 years and then magically find their way back home. Why are you so angry about this? Anna demanded. I would think you'd be happy if Max found his way back to us. A tense silence fell between them. Noah looked from his mother to his father, sensing that there was more to this argument than he understood. Something in his father's expression, guilt, fear, made Noah suddenly remember Dr. Reynolds' words about Shadow's old injuries, the signs of abuse. Dad? Noah asked quietly. What really happened to Max? Did he really run away? Mark's face contorted briefly before he got his expression under control. It was a long time ago, he said again, his voice flat. I'm going to watch the game. He turned and disappeared down the stairs. Anna stared after him, her expression troubled. Then she looked down at Noah, forcing a smile. Let's put these away for now, she said, closing the photo album. Tomorrow we'll go to the clinic and see if we can solve this mystery. Do you think it's really him? Noah asked as they descended the attic stairs. Do you think Shadow is Max? Anna hesitated. I don't know, sweetheart. It seems almost too incredible to be true, but strange things do happen sometimes. If Shadow is really Max, then he's already our dog, Noah pointed out logically. That means he can come home with us when he's better, right? Right, Anna agreed. If it's really Max, then he belongs with us. Noah went to bed that night with his head spinning with questions. If Shadow was really Max, why had he disappeared for so long? Where had he been all these years? And why did his father seem so upset by the possibility that Max had returned? He fell asleep thinking of the photos in the album, the happy, healthy German shepherd who had once been part of their family, who had watched over him as a baby. Somehow, in his dreams, that dog merged with the broken, bleeding animal he had found in the snow. Shadow and Max became one, a guardian angel returning when Noah needed him most. Meanwhile, in the living room, Anna confronted Mark when the game went to commercial. I want the truth, she said, her voice low but intense. What really happened to Max? And don't tell me he ran away during a storm. I've never believed that story. Mark wouldn't meet her eyes. Leave it alone, Anna. It's ancient history. Not if that dog at the clinic is Max, she pressed. Then it's very much present history. Noah deserves to know the truth. I deserve to know the truth. Mark was silent for a long moment, staring at the muted television. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely audible. I gave him away. What? Anna gasped. You gave Max away? Why? To whom? To a guy at work, Mark admitted, still not looking at her. He said he needed a guard dog for his brother's junkyard business out of state. He offered me good money for Max. You sold our dog? Anna's voice rose in disbelief. Without even discussing it with me? While I was at my mother's with Noah? We needed the money, Mark defended weakly. And I didn't think you needed the stress of an argument. You were already overwhelmed with Noah. So you lied to me, Anna said flatly. For 4 years, you've let me believe Max ran away when you actually sold him to guard some junkyard? Mark finally looked at her, guilt written across his face. I thought it was for the best. You were so focused on Noah, and Max was always underfoot. I thought once he was gone, you'd realize it was better that way. Better? Anna repeated incredulously. Max was part of our family. He protected Noah. How could you possibly think selling him would be better? I made a mistake, Mark admitted. I realized it almost immediately. I tried to get him back, but by then the guy's brother had already taken Max out of state. They wouldn't tell me where. Anna shook her head, tears of anger in her eyes. And now, by some miracle, he might have found his way back to us, and you're still trying to push him away. I'm trying to protect Noah from disappointment, Mark insisted. The chances that this dog is actually Max. What was the name of the man you sold him to? Anna interrupted. Mark seemed taken aback by the question. What? The man at work. What was his name? Mark frowned, thinking back. Tom Rayburn? His brother's name was Steve or Stan or something. Why? Because if Shadow's microchip is registered to someone named Rayburn, then we'll know for sure, Anna said grimly. And you'll have a lot of explaining to do, not just to me, but to your son. Mark paled at the thought. Anna, please. Noah doesn't need to know about this. We'll see, Anna replied, turning to leave the room. But I think you underestimate how much that boy already understands. The next morning dawned bright and clear, the snow from 2 nights ago already melting in the winter sun. Noah was up early again, eager to return to the clinic. This time, he had the photo album clutched in his hands, ready to solve the mystery of Shadow's true identity. Anna was quieter than usual. As they drove to the clinic, her face set in a determined expression. Mark had claimed a work emergency and stayed behind, though Noah suspected he was avoiding the confrontation with the truth that might be waiting at the vet's office. When they arrived, Dr. Reynolds greeted them with good news. Shadow, or Max, is doing much better today, she reported. He's more alert, and he's even taken a little food and water. We brought something to show you, Noah said eagerly, holding up the photo album. We think Shadow might actually be our dog who disappeared a long time ago. Dr. Reynolds raised her eyebrows in surprise. Really? That would be quite a coincidence. Or fate, Anna suggested quietly. Dr. Reynolds led them back to the recovery area, where Shadow was indeed looking more alert than the day before. His ears perked up when he saw Noah, and his tail began to wag weakly. He looks better today, Noah exclaimed, rushing to the cage. He's responding well to treatment, Dr. Reynolds agreed. He's a very resilient dog. While Noah greeted Shadow, Anna opened the photo album and showed it to Dr. Reynolds. This was our dog, Max, she explained. He disappeared just over 4 years ago. Dr. Reynolds studied the photos carefully. The markings are very similar, she acknowledged, especially that distinctive white patch on the chest. Can you check if he has any tags? Noah asked. Maybe hidden in his fur? Dr. Reynolds nodded. We did a full examination when he came in, but it's possible we missed something. Let me look again. She opened the cage and gently began examining the thick fur around Shadow's neck, careful not to disturb his V-lines or bandages. After a few moments, her fingers found something. There is something here, she said, working carefully to extract what seemed to be a small metal disc from the matted fur. It's rusted and partially broken, but it's definitely a dog tag. Anna leaned in closer, hardly daring to breathe. Dr. Reynolds wiped the tag clean with an antiseptic wipe, revealing faded engraving. It says Max, Doctor. Reynolds read, squinting at the worn metal. And there's an address, but it's too worn to read completely. I can make out the first part, though. 42 Pine. 42 Pine Ridge Road, Anna finished, her voice trembling. That was our old address, before we moved here 3 years ago. Share a time when something or someone you thought was lost forever unexpectedly returned to your life. Did it change you? The clinic fell silent. Noah looked from the worn tag to his mother's shocked face, struggling to understand the significance of what had just happened. So, Shadow is really Max? He asked, his voice small and filled with wonder. Our Max? Anna nodded, tears streaming down her face. It seems impossible, but yes, this is Max. She knelt beside the cage, her hand trembling as she reached out to touch the dog's fur. He found his way back to us, after all this time. Dr. Reynolds watched the emotional scene with astonishment. This is remarkable, she said. The odds against this happening, it's like something out of a movie. Noah was practically vibrating with excitement. That means he's definitely coming home with us, right? Since he's already our dog? Of course, Anna assured him, wiping her tears. Max is family. He's coming home as soon as he's well enough. Dr. Reynolds cleared her throat gently. There's still the matter of the registered owner on the microchip. Legally speaking, the registered owner is us, Anna said firmly. The chip must have been registered when we first got Max as a puppy. The information is outdated because we've moved since then. Dr. Reynolds looked doubtful. The registry shows the owner's name as Rayburn, not... She glanced at Anna questioningly. Wilson, Anna supplied, her brow furrowing in confusion. Our name is Wilson. I don't understand. Could Max have been adopted by someone else after he disappeared? Dr. Reynolds suggested. Someone named Rayburn? Noah saw a shadow pass over his mother's face, recognition, then anger. Rayburn, Anna repeated, her voice suddenly hard. Steve Rayburn, Mark's co-worker's brother. Who's that? Noah asked, confused by his mother's tone. Anna shook her head slightly. Someone we need to talk about later, she said, clearly not wanting to discuss it in front of Noah. She turned back to Dr. Reynolds. This dog is definitely our Max. The tag proves it. Whatever happened in between his disappearance and now, he belongs with us. Dr. Reynolds nodded slowly. Well, the physical evidence certainly supports your claim. And given the dog's, Max's, obvious recognition of your son, I'm inclined to agree. We'll need to sort out the paperwork, but I don't see any reason why Max shouldn't go home with you once he's recovered. Noah beamed, turning back to the dog. Did you hear that, Max? You're coming home with us. You found us again. Max's tail thumped weakly against the cage floor, his brown eyes fixed on Noah's face. Even with the plastic cone around his head and the tubes attached to his body, there was a new light in his eyes. Recognition, relief, perhaps even happiness. But why did it take him so long to find us? Noah wondered aloud. And what happened to him? Why is he so hurt even before the truck hit him? Dr. Reynolds and Anna exchanged a look over Noah's head. Sometimes it's hard to know what happens to animals when they're lost, Dr. Reynolds said carefully. Max might have been through a lot these past few years. The important thing is that he's back now, Anna added, placing a hand on Noah's shoulder. And we're going to take care of him and make sure nothing bad ever happens to him again. Noah nodded solemnly. I promise, Max, no one will ever hurt you again. Before they left the clinic, Dr. Reynolds took Anna aside while Noah was saying goodbye to Max. I've been doing some research on this Rayburn person listed in the microchip registry, she said quietly. Steve Rayburn has several complaints against him for animal cruelty. He runs a junkyard on the outskirts of Millfield, about 100 miles from here. Anna's face paled. Animal cruelty? Dr. Reynolds nodded grimly. The older injuries I mentioned, the ones that predate the accident, are consistent with a dog that's been mistreated, possibly used as a guard dog in harsh conditions. Anna closed her eyes briefly, pain washing over her face. Mark has a lot to answer for, she whispered, more to herself than to the vet. I don't know what the situation is with your family, Doctor, Reynolds said gently, but I want you to know that I'll support your claim to Max. The evidence of his original ownership is clear, and his condition when found suggests he was escaping from a bad situation. Thank you, Anna said, gratitude clear in her voice. We'll be back tomorrow to check on him. The drive home was filled with Noah's excited chatter about all the things he would do with Max once the dog came home. He would help him get better, take him for walks when his leg healed, let him sleep in his room. Anna listened with a smile, though her mind was clearly elsewhere. As they pulled into the driveway, Noah noticed his father's car was back. Dad's home, he exclaimed. I can't wait to tell him that Shadow is really Max. Anna's smile faltered. Noah, she said, turning in her seat to face him. Let me talk to your father first, okay? There are some adult things we need to discuss about Max. Noah frowned, sensing the tension in his mother's voice. Is Dad going to be mad that Max is coming home with us? Anna sighed. It's complicated, sweetheart. Just give me a little time to talk to him before you tell him the news, okay? Reluctantly, Noah agreed. He went to his room to draw a picture for Max while his mother went to find his father. Noah tried not to listen to the conversation that soon drifted up from the kitchen, but the rising voices made it impossible to ignore. You sold him to Steve Rayburn? Anna's voice was sharp with accusation. After I specifically asked about that man's brother, you lied to my face, Mark. I didn't lie, Mark's voice defended. You asked for a name, and I gave you one. I said Steve or Stan because I didn't want to admit I knew exactly who he was. Do you have any idea what you did? Anna demanded. Rayburn has been reported for animal cruelty. Those scars on Max, the old injuries the vet found, that's from your coworker's brother. You sold our dog to be abused. I didn't know. Mark's voice was quieter now. Tom said his brother needed a good guard dog. I had no idea he would mistreat Max. You had no right to make that decision without talking to me. Anna's voice broke slightly. Max was part of our family, and you just got rid of him. like he was an old piece of furniture you didn't want anymore. I was trying to protect Noah. Mark's voice rose again. Max was too rough with him. Remember that time he knocked Noah over in the yard? He was just a baby, Anna. He could have been hurt. That was one time, Anna shot back. And Max was playing, not being aggressive. He was the gentlest dog with Noah, always watching over him. You just didn't want the responsibility of a dog on top of a new baby. There was a painful silence. Noah sat on his bed, the crayon in his hand forgotten, as he listened to his parents argue about Max. You're right, Mark finally admitted, his voice so low Noah had to strain to hear it. I thought a dog was too much work with a new baby. I thought we'd be better off without him. I made a terrible mistake, Anna. I've regretted it every day since. Not enough to tell me the truth, Anna replied coldly. I was ashamed, Mark said. I knew you'd be furious, and I couldn't face that. So I lied, and then the lie just grew, until I couldn't take it back without destroying your trust in me. Well, you've destroyed it now, Anna said, and it's not me you need to worry about. It's Noah. He's going to find out what you did, Mark, and he's going to have a hard time forgiving you. He doesn't need to know, Mark pleaded. Can't we just say Max ran away and found his way back? Noah would accept that. And perpetuate the lie? Anna's voice was incredulous. Number, I won't do that. Noah deserves the truth. Heavy footsteps sounded on the stairs, and Noah quickly pretended to be focused on his drawing. His father appeared in the doorway, his face haggard and older than Noah had ever seen it. Noah, Mark said softly, we need to talk, buddy. Noah looked up, feigning innocence. About what, Dad? Mark came into the room and sat on the edge of the bed. About Max. Your mom told me that the dog you found, Shadow, is actually our old dog, Max. Noah nodded slowly. He has the same white patch on his chest. And Dr. Reynolds found his old tag with our old address. It's really him, Dad. Mark took a deep breath. Noah, there's something I need to tell you about what happened to Max when he disappeared 4 years ago. He didn't run away. Noah waited, though he already knew what his father was going to say. He had heard it all through the floor. I gave Max away, Mark admitted, not meeting Noah's eyes, to a man who needed a guard dog. I thought it was the right decision at the time, but it wasn't. It was a terrible mistake. Noah was silent for a long moment, processing this confession. Even though he had overheard the argument, hearing his father say it directly to him made it real in a way it hadn't been before. Why? Noah finally asked, his voice small but steady. Why did you give Max away? Didn't you love him? Mark flinched at the question. I did love him, he said, but I was worried about you. You were just a baby, and Max was so big. I thought I was protecting you. But Mom said Max was gentle with me, Noah pointed out. She said he watched over me. Mark nodded sadly. He did. Your mother was right, and I was wrong. I made a decision out of fear, not out of what was best for our family. Noah considered this, his 5-year-old mind grappling with the complexity of adult mistakes and regrets. Max got hurt because of your mistake, he said finally. The vet said someone was mean to him. Mark's face crumpled. I know, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to make that up to Max, and to you. If you'll let me. Noah looked down at the drawing he had been working on, a picture of a boy and a dog, standing side by side in front of a house with a bright sun overhead. A family, complete again. Max already forgave you, Noah said, surprising his father. That's why he came back. He could have gone anywhere when he escaped, but he came back to us, to our street. Mark stared at his son in amazement. You think so? Noah nodded with the certainty only a child could possess. Max wants us to be a family again, all of us. That's why he came back. Tears filled Mark's eyes, the first tears Noah had ever seen his father shed. I hope you're right, buddy, he said softly. I really hope you're right. Anna appeared in the doorway, having heard the conversation. Her face was still tight with anger, but there was a softness in her eyes as she watched her husband and son. Max is coming home as soon as he's well enough, she said. Dr. Reynolds thinks it might be another week or so. We need to get ready for him, Noah said, immediately practical. He'll need a bed and food and toys. We'll get everything he needs, Mark promised. And this time, he's staying for good. The next few days fell into a pattern. Each afternoon after school, Anna would take Noah to visit Max at the clinic. Each day, the German Shepherd looked a little stronger, a little more alert. The tubes were gradually removed one by one, and the bandages grew smaller as his wounds healed. Dr. Reynolds was amazed by Max's progress. "He's recovering faster than I expected," she told him on the 5th day. "His will to live is extraordinary." "He has something to live for now," Noah said wisely. He found his family again. Mark came with them sometimes, hanging back awkwardly at first, as if unsure of his welcome. Max was wary around him initially, watching him with cautious eyes. But by the 3rd visit, the dog's tail would wag tentatively when Mark approached, accepting the gentle scratches behind his ears. "He remembers you," Noah observed, "but he's not sure if you're still mad at him." "I was never mad at Max," Mark said quietly. "I was just a fool." On the 7th day, Dr. Reynolds gave them the news they had been waiting for. "Max can go home tomorrow," she announced. "His sutures are healing well, and while he'll need to take it easy for several more weeks, he's stable enough to continue his recovery at home." Noah could barely contain his excitement. He had spent the week preparing for Max's arrival, helping his father set up a comfortable dog bed in the living room, though Noah was secretly planning to let Max sleep in his room, arranging Max's food and water bowls in the kitchen, and collecting a small mountain of toys that now occupied the corner of his bedroom. Mark had thrown himself into the preparations with an enthusiasm that surprised both Anna and Noah. He had built a sturdy ramp so Max wouldn't have to navigate the porch steps with his cast, installed a new fence in the backyard, and spent hours researching the best foods for recovering dogs. "I want to do this right," he explained when Anna commented on his dedication. "For all of us." The morning they were set to bring Max home, Noah was up before dawn, too excited to sleep. He had carefully selected his outfit the night before, his favorite rocket ship t-shirt and the jeans without holes in the knees. He wanted to look nice for Max's homecoming. "Do you think he remembers our house?" Noah asked as they drove to the clinic. "It's different from the one he lived in before." "Dogs have an amazing sense of memory, especially when it comes to their people," Anna explained. "He might not recognize the house, but he definitely remembers us." When they arrived at the clinic, Max was waiting in the reception area, sitting awkwardly due to his cast, but alert and clearly eager to leave. The plastic cone had been removed from his head, revealing more of his handsome face. When he saw Noah, his tail immediately began to wag, thumping enthusiastically against the floor. "Max!" Noah cried, rushing to the dog's side. Max responded by licking Noah's face, his whole body wiggling with excitement despite his injuries. Dr. Reynolds handed Anna a bag of medications and a sheet of instructions. "He'll need these antibiotics for another week, and the pain medication as needed," she explained. "The cast stays on for at least 3 more weeks. We'll need to see him back here for checkups, but he should continue to improve steadily." "Thank you for everything," Anna said warmly. "You saved his life." "Noah saved his life," Dr. Reynolds corrected her with a smile. "I just helped afterward." The drive home was filled with an almost electric excitement. Max sat in the back seat next to Noah, his head resting in the boy's lap, as Noah stroked his ears and whispered reassurances. "You're going home, Max," Noah kept saying. "For real this time. Forever." When they pulled into the driveway, Mark was waiting on the porch, a nervousness about him that made him look younger somehow, more vulnerable. He came down to the car as they parked, standing back to give Max space. The dog paused when he saw Mark, his body tensing slightly. Then, slowly, Max's tail began to wag, cautiously at first, then with more confidence. "Hey, buddy," Mark said softly, kneeling down to Max's level. "Welcome home." Max studied him for a moment, his intelligent eyes seeming to look into Mark's soul. Then, with a deliberate movement that made everyone hold their breath, the German Shepherd limped forward and pressed his head against Mark's chest. Mark's arms came around the dog gently, mindful of his injuries. "I'm so sorry," he whispered into Max's fur. "I'm so sorry for what I did. Can you ever forgive me?" As if in answer, Max licked Mark's face once, a simple gesture of acceptance that brought tears to everyone's eyes. The homecoming celebration was one Noah would remember for the rest of his life. His father had hung a banner across the front door that read, "Welcome home, Max," in big red letters. Inside, balloons floated from every chair, and a special dog-friendly cake sat on the coffee table, a concoction of beef and sweet potato that Dr. Reynolds had assured them was safe for Max to eat in small quantities. Max seemed overwhelmed by it all, sniffing every corner of the house as if trying to reconcile this new place with his memories of his family. He limped from room to room, Noah at his side, providing a running commentary on everything. "This is the kitchen where we'll feed you," Noah explained. "And this is the living room where your big bed is, but you can sleep in my room if you want. And this is the backyard where we can play fetch when your leg is better." Max followed attentively, his ears perked forward as he listened to Noah's voice. When they reached Noah's bedroom, the dog seemed especially interested, sniffing the floor and then the bed with great concentration. "Do you remember me as a baby?" Noah asked, watching Max explore. "Mom says you used to sleep outside my room to protect me. You can sleep inside my room now if you want." As if making a decision, Max turned in a careful circle and then lowered himself onto the rug beside Noah's bed, his cast sticking out awkwardly, but his expression content. "I think he's chosen his spot," Anna observed from the doorway, smiling at the scene. That night, after dinner, during which Max had been given his own special meal of soft food mixed with his medication, the family gathered in the living room. Max lay on his new bed, seemingly content to simply watch his reunited family. Noah sat on the floor beside him, one hand always in contact with the dog's fur, as if afraid he might disappear again if Noah let go. "I still can't believe he found his way back to us," Anna said, watching them. "After all this time, after everything he must have been through." "It's like he never gave up," Mark added, "even when I gave up on him." Noah looked up at his parents. "I think Max was trying to come home for a long time," he said thoughtfully. "Maybe he escaped before, but couldn't find us because we moved, and then this time, he got really close, but then the truck hit him." "That's possible," Anna agreed. "We may never know exactly what happened to him during those years, or how many times he tried to escape." "But he made it this time," Noah said, smiling down at Max. "That's what matters." As the evening wore on, Noah began to yawn, the excitement of the day finally catching up with him. His parents sent him off to get ready for bed, promising that Max could stay in his room for the night. When Noah was tucked in, his parents came to say goodnight. Max watched from his position on the rug, his eyes moving between the three humans. "Good night, sweetheart," Anna said, kissing Noah's forehead. "Sleep well." "Good night, buddy," Mark added, ruffling Noah's hair. "Big day tomorrow, Max's first full day home." "It's the best day ever," Noah declared sleepily. "Our family is together again." His parents exchanged a look over his head, a look of reconciliation, of shared purpose, of healing beginning. After they left, Noah turned on his side to face Max. The dog's eyes gleamed in the dim light from the nightlight, alert and watchful. "I knew you'd stay," Noah whispered. "When I found you in the snow and you looked at me with your eyes, I just knew. We were meant to find each other." Max's tail thumped against the floor in agreement. Noah reached down and stroked the dog's head one more time before settling back onto his pillow. "Good night, Max," he murmured as his eyes drifted closed. "See you in the morning." In the darkness, Max remained awake, his eyes fixed on the small boy in the bed. His body was still healing, still in pain, but for the first time in years, his heart was at peace. He had found his way back to the family he had never forgotten, back to the boy he had once watched over as a tiny infant. The journey had been long and filled with hardship, but in this moment, lying on the soft rug in the warm house, listening to Noah's gentle breathing, Max knew it had all been worth it. The German shepherd closed his eyes, not to sleep, but to simply exist in the moment of perfect contentment. Outside, a light snow began to fall again, covering the world in a fresh blanket of white. But this time, Max was inside, safe and warm. This time, he was home. Has a pet or animal ever shown you extraordinary loyalty or intelligence that left you amazed? Share your story with us. As the weeks passed, Max's physical wounds began to heal. The cast came off his leg, revealing a limb that was still weak but functional. The deep cuts had turned to scars, most of them hidden beneath his thick fur. On the surface, he was becoming the handsome, strong German shepherd he had once been. But the invisible wounds, the ones that couldn't be bandaged or cast, those took longer to heal. Max still flinched at sudden movements. He cowered when Mark raised his voice during a football game on TV. Thunderstorms sent him hiding under Noah's bed, trembling and panting. "It's okay, Max," Noah would whisper, crawling under the bed to lie beside the frightened dog. "You're safe now. No one's going to hurt you." Dr. Reynolds had warned them about this. "Max has been through trauma," she explained during a checkup. "Not just the accident, but whatever happened during those years he was away. It might take months, even years, for him to fully trust again. But if anyone could help Max heal, it was Noah." The bond between the boy and dog had only grown stronger. Max followed Noah everywhere, a constant shadow at his side. At night, despite having his own bed, Max would always end up on the floor beside Noah's bed, standing guard even in sleep. One afternoon, as spring began to replace winter, Noah sat on the back porch steps watching Max explore the yard. The dog moved with only a slight limp now, his strength returning a little more each day. "He looks happy," Mark observed, joining his son on the steps. "More like his old self." Noah nodded. "He still gets scared sometimes, though, like when the garbage truck comes or when strangers visit." Mark sighed, his eyes following Max as the dog sniffed around the perimeter of the yard. "That's my fault," he said quietly. "If I hadn't given him away, he wouldn't have those fears." Noah was silent for a moment, considering this. At 5 years old, he was still learning about concepts like blame and forgiveness. But he understood that his father carried a heavy weight of guilt about Max. "But you're helping him now," Noah pointed out. "You built him the ramp and the fence, and you throw the ball for him every day, even when you're tired from work." Mark smiled sadly. "It doesn't make up for what I did." "Max forgave you," Noah said with certainty. "That's why he lets you pet him now, and why he sleeps by your chair sometimes." Mark looked at his son in wonder. Noah had a wisdom that seemed beyond his years, a simple, clear-eyed understanding of forgiveness that adults often struggled to grasp. "I hope you can forgive me too, Noah," Mark said softly, "for lying about what happened to Max." Noah leaned against his father's side. "I was mad at first," he admitted, "but Max came back, and now you're trying to be better. That's what matters." Mark put his arm around his son's small shoulders, throat tight with emotion. The two of them sat in comfortable silence, watching as Max circled back toward them, tail wagging as he approached. "Want to play fetch?" Mark asked, reaching for the tennis ball they kept on the porch. Noah grinned. "Race you to the yard!" These moments of healing, small, ordinary, but profound, began to stitch their family back together. Anna watched her husband with new eyes as he devoted himself to Max's recovery, recognizing the genuine remorse and effort at redemption. Mark saw a side of his son he'd never fully appreciated before, Noah's capacity for compassion and forgiveness. And Max, day by day, reclaimed not just his physical strength, but his trust in the humans who had once been his world. Spring turned to early summer. Max's visits to the vet became less frequent as his recovery progressed. His fur grew back glossy and thick, covering most of the scars from the accident. To a casual observer, he looked like any other healthy German shepherd, alert, intelligent, devoted to his family. But those who knew Max's story saw more. They saw the miracle of his survival, the incredible journey that had brought him back to the family he had never forgotten. They saw the unbreakable bond between a boy and his dog, a bond that had formed before Noah could even remember, been broken through human error, and then rebuilt through chance, courage, and love. On a warm June morning, Anna was folding laundry in the living room when the doorbell rang. Max, who had been napping on his bed nearby, immediately leapt to his feet, a low growl rumbling in his chest. "It's okay, Max," Anna soothed. "Stay." Max obeyed, though his body remained tense, eyes fixed on the door. Anna opened it to find a middle-aged man standing on the porch. He wore worn jeans and a faded work shirt, his face weathered and lined. "Can I help you?" Anna asked. The man shifted uncomfortably. "I'm looking for Mark Wilson," he said. "Tom Rayburn sent me. I'm his brother, Steve." Anna felt her blood run cold. Steve Rayburn, the man who had taken Max, who had used him as a guard dog, who had abused him. Her first instinct was to slam the door in his face, but a morbid curiosity kept her hand still. "What do you want with my husband?" she asked, her voice tight. "I want to talk to him about the dog," Rayburn said. "My dog, German shepherd named Max. Tom told me Mark's kid found him after he ran off from my junkyard." From inside the house came a deep, rumbling growl. Max had moved to stand behind Anna, his teeth bared, body rigid with tension. The sight of Rayburn had triggered something in the dog. Recognition and fear transformed into defensive anger. Rayburn took a step back, his eyes widening at the sight of Max. "There he is," he said. "That's my dog. He ran off during a storm back in February, jumped the fence." "He's not your dog," Anna said coldly. "He never was. Max was our family dog first. You bought him from my husband without my knowledge or consent." "A deal's a deal," Rayburn insisted. "I paid good money for that dog. He's trained as a guard dog now, worth even more." Anna felt her anger rising. Trained? Is that what you call it? Abusing an animal until it's too terrified not to obey? Rayburn's face darkened. "I don't know what you're talking about, lady. I treated that dog fine, fed him, gave him shelter." "The vet found evidence of abuse," Anna shot back. "Old injuries, scars hidden under his fur. Max was terrified when we first brought him home. That's not how a well-treated dog behaves." The confrontation was interrupted by the sound of a car in the driveway. Mark was home for lunch, as he had been every day since Max's return. He got out of his car and immediately sensed the tension on the porch. "What's going on?" he asked, approaching cautiously. "Mark Wilson?" Rayburn asked. "I'm Steve Rayburn. I believe you have my dog." Mark's face drained of color as he realized who he was talking to. He looked at Max, still growling softly behind Anna, then back at Rayburn. "Max isn't your dog," Mark said firmly. "He's ours. He always was." "I paid your brother $1,200 for that dog 4 years ago," Rayburn argued. "That makes him mine, legally." "A transaction based on a lie," Mark replied. "I had no right to sell him in the first place. He was a family pet, not my sole property to dispose of." Rayburn's expression turned ugly. "Look, I don't care about your family drama. I want my guard dog back. He's valuable to me." "Get off our property," Anna said, her voice hard with anger. "Max is staying here, where he belongs." "We'll see about that," Rayburn threatened. "I've still got the bill of sale your husband signed. I'll take this to court if I have to." The door behind Anna opened wider, and Noah appeared, drawn by the raised voices. "What's happening?" he asked, his small face concerned. "Who's that man?" At the sight of Noah, Max's demeanor changed instantly. He moved to stand between the boy and Rayburn, his posture protective rather than fearful. The message was clear. He would defend this child at any cost. Rayburn's eyes narrowed as he took in the scene. "That's the problem right there," he said, nodding toward Noah. "You've gone and made the dog soft again. He was a damn good guard dog until he saw your kid." "What do you mean?" Mark asked. Rayburn snorted. "Dog was fine at the junkyard for years. Did his job, kept thieves away. Then about 6 months ago, some family with a little kid comes by looking for auto parts. Kid looks a lot like yours. After that, the dog started acting weird. Wouldn't stay at his post, kept trying to get out. Finally managed it during that big storm in February." A chill ran down Anna's spine as she understood the implications. "Max saw a child who reminded him of Noah," she whispered, "and it triggered his memory." "Whatever," Rayburn said dismissively. "All I know is I want my dog back, or I want compensation for him." Mark stepped forward, placing himself between Rayburn and his family. "Here's what's going to happen," he said, his voice steady. "You're going to leave now, and you're never going to come back. If you try to take legal action, we'll counter with animal cruelty charges. Dr. Reynolds at the Lakeside Clinic has documented all of Max's injuries, old and new. Would you like to explain those to a judge?" Uncertainty flickered across Rayburn's face. "You can't prove anything." "We can prove Max was originally our dog," Anna interjected. "We have photos, vet records from when he was a puppy. We can prove my husband had no right to sell him without my consent, as he was family property. And we can certainly raise enough questions about Max's condition to make things very uncomfortable for you." Rayburn looked from Mark to Anna, then to Noah and Max. The German Shepherd hadn't taken his eyes off the man, his body still positioned protectively in front of Noah. "Fine," Rayburn finally spat. "Keep the damn dog. He's damaged goods now anyway." He turned to leave, then paused. "But I want some compensation. That dog cost me money." "You've gotten 4 years of guard dog service from an animal you mistreated," Mark said coldly. "Consider that your compensation." Rayburn glared at them all one last time before stomping back to his truck and driving away, gravel spitting from under his tires. As the sound of the engine faded, The tension drained from Max's body. He turned to Noah, nudging the boy's hand with his nose, as if checking that he was all right. "Who was that man?" Noah asked again, his voice small. Mark and Anna exchanged a look, silently debating how much to tell their son. Finally, Anna knelt to Noah's level. "That was the man who had Max while he was away from us," she explained gently. "He wasn't very nice to Max." Noah's face darkened with a child's righteous anger. "He hurt Max?" "Yes, sweetheart. I'm afraid he did." Noah wrapped his arms around Max's neck. "He's never going to hurt you again," he promised the dog. "Never ever." That night, after Noah was asleep, Mark and Anna sat at the kitchen table, the day's confrontation weighing heavily on them. "Do you think he'll really take legal action?" Anna asked, cradling a cup of tea between her hands. Mark shook his head. "I doubt it. He knows he doesn't have a strong case, especially with the evidence of mistreatment. But, just to be safe, I called a lawyer this afternoon. She says our claim to Max is solid." Anna nodded, relieved. "I can't believe he had the nerve to show up here, demanding Max back after what he did to him." "Some people only see animals as property," Mark said sadly, "not as living beings with feelings and memories." He paused, guilt washing over his face. "I was like that once with Max. I saw him as something I could just dispose of when he became inconvenient." "But you've changed," Anna said softly, reaching across the table to take his hand. "You see him differently now." "Because of Noah," Mark admitted. "Watching him with Max, seeing that bond, it's opened my eyes to what I almost destroyed." They fell silent, listening to the quiet sounds of the house at night. From upstairs came the soft click of claws on hardwood, Max making his nightly rounds, checking on Noah before settling beside his bed. "He always checks on him," Anna observed. "Every night, without fail." "He's making up for lost time," Mark suggested. "Just like I am." 2 weeks later, the day they had been dreading arrived. Noah had been having mysterious stomach pains off and on for the past month, and today was his scheduled appointment at the Children's Hospital for tests. The doctor suspected it was nothing serious, probably just stress or a minor digestive issue, but the tests would rule out anything more concerning. Noah was brave about it, as he was about most things. But as they prepared to leave for the hospital, his small face showed signs of fear. "Will they give me shots?" he asked his mother as she helped him put on his shoes. "Maybe," Anna answered honestly. "But if they do, it will be quick, just a little pinch, and then it's over." Noah nodded, trying to look brave, but his lower lip trembled slightly. Max, who had been watching the preparations intently, seemed to sense Noah's distress. He disappeared from the room, and Anna assumed he was going to his bed, as he sometimes did when household activity became too much for him. But a moment later, Max returned. In his mouth, he carried Mr. Buttons, Noah's well-loved teddy bear, now fully recovered from his stint as Max's hospital companion. "Max, what are you doing with Mr. Buttons?" Noah asked. Max approached Noah and gently placed the teddy bear in the boy's lap, then sat back, looking at Noah expectantly. "I think he wants you to take Mr. Buttons to the hospital," Anna said, amazed by the dog's intuition. "For comfort, just like you gave Mr. Buttons to Max when he was in the hospital." Noah's eyes widened. "You remember that, Max?" he asked, stroking the dog's head. "You remember I gave you Mr. Buttons when you were scared?" Max leaned forward and gently licked Noah's cheek once, a clear yes in dog language. Mark, who had been watching from the doorway, felt a lump form in his throat. "That dog understands more than most people I know," he said, his voice rough with emotion. The hospital visit went as well as could be expected. Noah was indeed brave, clutching Mr. Buttons tightly during the blood draw, but not crying out. The doctors were pleased with his cooperation and told the family they would have results in a few days, though they reiterated that they didn't expect to find anything serious. When they arrived home, Max was waiting anxiously by the door. He had been pacing restlessly ever since they left, according to the neighbor who had checked on him. The moment Noah walked through the door, Max was at his side, sniffing him carefully as if checking for injuries. "I'm okay, Max," Noah assured him, kneeling to hug the concerned dog. "The doctors just took a little blood, that's all. And I had Mr. Buttons with me, just like you wanted." Max seemed to relax at this, but he stayed especially close to Noah for the rest of the day, unwilling to let the boy out of his sight for even a moment. That night, as Mark was locking up the house before bed, his phone rang. It was Dr. Reynolds from the vet clinic. "It's sorry to call so late," she said, "but I wanted to let you know right away. The animal control investigation into Steve Rayburn has been completed, based partly on Max's case and several other complaints." "And," Mark prompted, "they've shut down his junkyard operation and charged him with multiple counts of animal cruelty," Dr. Reynolds reported. "He won't be allowed to own animals again. And more importantly for you, any legal claim he might have tried to make on Max is now completely invalidated." Relief washed over Mark. "That's wonderful news," he said. "Thank you for letting us know." "There's something else, Doctor." Reynolds continued. "The investigator found evidence that Max tried to escape multiple times over the years. There were repairs to the fencing, incident reports about a dog getting loose. He never stopped trying to get back to you." Mark felt tears prick his eyes. "Thank you," he said again, his voice thick, "for everything you've done for Max and for us." After hanging up, Mark stood in the darkened living room, processing this new information. Max had never given up, never stopped trying to find his way home. His loyalty had endured through years of mistreatment and separation. If only human love could be so steadfast, so unconditional. Upstairs, Noah was fast asleep, the hospital visit having tired him out. Max lay on the floor beside his bed as usual, but when Mark looked in on them, he saw the dog was still awake, his eyes gleaming in the dim night light. "You never gave up on us," Mark whispered, "even when I gave up on you." Max's tail thumped softly against the floor. "Just once," an acknowledgement. 3 days later, the hospital called with Noah's test results. Everything was normal. The stomach pains were likely due to mild anxiety, which wasn't surprising, given the emotional events of the past few months. The doctor recommended some simple relaxation techniques and suggested they keep an eye on it, but reassured them there was nothing physically wrong. "That's a relief," Anna sighed after hanging up the phone. "Though I'm not surprised the stress got to him. Finding Max, the whole ordeal with his recovery, then Rayburn showing up, it's been a lot for a 5-year-old to process." "For all of us," Mark agreed. Then, with a thoughtful expression, he added, "Maybe we all need a fresh start. A chance to make new memories together." "What did you have in mind?" Anna asked. Mark smiled. "How about a camping trip? Just the 4 of us. There's a nice family campground about an hour from here, with a lake for swimming. Dogs are welcome." Anna's face lit up at the idea. "Noah would love that. And I think Max would too." "This weekend," Mark suggested, "I can take Friday off, and we can have 3 days together." And so, that Friday morning, found the Wilson family loading up their SUV with camping gear. Noah was beside himself with excitement, racing back and forth from the house to the car, with small items he deemed essential: his fishing net, his bug-collecting jar, his favorite books about forest animals. Max watched the preparations with interest, but also with a hint of anxiety. He stayed close to Noah, occasionally whining softly when the boy moved too far away. "I think Max is nervous," Noah observed as he helped his father load the cooler. "Maybe he doesn't know what camping is." "He might think we're leaving him behind," Mark suggested, remembering with a pang how he had done exactly that 4 years ago. "We would never leave you, Max," Noah assured the dog, kneeling to look him in the eyes. "You're coming with us. It's a family trip, and your family." Finally, everything was packed. Noah sat in the back seat with Max beside him, the German Shepherd's head already hanging out the window, despite the fact that they hadn't even started driving yet. "Everyone ready?" Mark asked, looking around at his family, his wife beside him, his son and their dog in the back, his family complete at last. "Ready!" Noah cheered, one arm slung around Max's neck. As they pulled away from the house, headed for new adventures, Mark caught Anna's eye. She smiled, reaching over to squeeze his hand, a gesture of forgiveness, of new beginnings. In the rearview mirror, Mark could see Noah pointing things out to Max as they drove, other dogs being walked, interesting cloud shapes, a playground they passed. The German Shepherd watched attentively, as if understanding every word. Perhaps he did understand, in his own way. Max had never forgotten his family, never stopped trying to return to them. And now that he had found his way back, he was making up for all the lost time. Every walk not taken, every game not played, every night not spent guarding the boy who had once been a baby under his watchful eye. The road stretched out before them, leading to the campground, to the lake, to the weekend of memories they would create together. But, more importantly, it led to the future. A future where a boy and his dog would grow up together after all, where trust once broken could be rebuilt, where love and loyalty would triumph over the mistakes of the past. As they reached the highway, the car picking up speed, Noah laughed at something only he and Max could understand. The sound of that laugh, pure joy, unburdened by worry, was more healing than any medicine, more powerful than any words could be. Max had been barely alive when Noah found him in the snow that winter night. But the touch of a child's hand, the tears of a boy who refused to give up, had brought him back. Not just to life, but to the life he was always meant to have, as part of a family who now understood what they had almost lost, and who would never take that bond for granted again. If this heartwarming story touched your soul, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell us in the comments about an animal that changed your life, and don't forget to let us know where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring more incredible true stories to light.